Recently, I've been pondering the question of how I can better serve the people that are in my audience, that I work with in spiritual work, and how can I ensure that not only are we doing this as a servitude of just the simulation, but actually helping people grow closer to the light and helping each other grow closer to the light. And it seems to me that the best antidote in the spirit of this time is to simply ignore reality as we perceive it. Stop trying to believe that the reality that you're seeing before you is the real thing. Now, those Regal Change old-timers are aware of the Regal timeline theory that reality and truth are not always the same thing. In fact, reality is going to be more of a kind of fiction that you embody either by accident or it puts you, or somebody else put you in that reality. Because the delusions that you experience when you're actually in a delusion, the experience can feel extremely clear. And you can experience something that feels something like it's the truth, it's the way, right? Like this is the only it, like this is only it. However, you can get stuck on only being in a feedback loop of your experience. So trust what you experience, absolutely. However, also be open to recognize that maybe there's something deeper going on here. Can you question your own clarity without losing yourself? That's going to be a big thing. And so ignoring reality then comes down to ignoring whatever kind of fiction you perceive and just embodying what you know is true or what you want to be true for your life. So, for example, if you want to embody something, then you're going to have to not only feel it first, like Neville Goddard's imaginal law, you have to feel the thing before you experience it, but you also have to enact a sense of actual implementation. Now, I'm not saying that I am a proponent of Neville Goddard just yet. I am a proponent of Carl Jung for sure, because I know that his work deep enough that it's going to be life-changing for the people that actually listen to what he's saying. Because you kind of, as you're reading Carl Jung, you're kind of taking it from the horse's mouth, so to speak, right? And so it's just like, whoa, a lot of this stuff is just, whoa, you might need to process it for a second just because it's so mind-blowing. But with Neville Goddard's work, for example, recently I've been reading more of his work, and it seems as though it just comes across as kind of mystical. And I don't think it's actually super mystical. I think it's actually very true, but I think that the way that people can, like, I see the danger in which people will misappropriate the actual teachings a little bit more. And I can see why more people are drawn to Neville Goddard, but don't actually do anything about the teachings. Whereas with people like myself, there are many people who are drawn to my work and what I do and what I talk about. And there are also people that embody those things that I talk about. I am the education, I'm not the educator. The education of the soul of existence is flowing through me in this instance. I am not the person that is, trying to teach here. I'm just being in a way that I see you in a sense of my coming to God and the soul of existence. And we're all seeing each other as vessels of coming to God, to the soul of existence. But I'm not doing this because I'm motivated to share like a certain type of like, I have to say this because it makes me sound very spiritual. It makes me sound like, like I'm actually a godly bad boy here, or that I'm a certain way here, I'm a certain way there. I have a title here, I'm a title there. I have a godlike mastery offer. That makes me a godlike master. Those titles are irrelevant. Now, the process and the system and the education is true. but it's not the main creme de la creme, right? The creme de la creme is just, yes, it is the experience. And this is why we need to discern our own experiences. But we do that first by ignoring reality. So what Neville Goddard teaches, for example, is that if you just keep assuming that your dream life is going to happen, pretty soon you might just find yourself in your dream life. Even if the reality, quote unquote, the for the time being in this three-dimensional world that we live in, maybe it doesn't happen on the three-dimensional world, but it's in the fifth dimension, which means you just need to do certain things to embody that fifth dimensional aspect to create the three dimensions. Because if you truly want to repeat certain, like if you want to have something in your life, repetition is going to change your mind. Okay, repetition is going to change your mind. Repetition is going to change your mind. Repetition is going to change. You see the point. So repetition will change your mind. Now it's just about focusing on what you want to repeat. So a lot of people get stuck on wanting to repeat these negative thought processes or thought algorithms, as I call them. And the reason that they want to repeat these thought algorithms is because they're addicted to the struggle. They're addicted to the grind. They're addicted to this. They're addicted to that. I actually had a very peculiar dream recently. And I don't know if it's actually appropriate to talk about this, not because it's like naughty, but because it's there's just something happening in my own spiritual evolution that it seems like, of course, I want to be able to communicate about this and confront it, but maybe now is not the spiritually right time to do so. And the reason being is because there are certain high value, low cost timelines that are in play, and talking about these might distort things unnecessarily. So what I'll leave you with is that something that maybe could be more of utility practically for you is to recognize, okay, well, how exactly are you transforming your life in the spirit of this time? And are you truly embodying what you want to have happen? And if you get what you want, why aren't you satisfied? Well, maybe it's because you don't really want that. Well, in which case there's two options that really leaves us with. Number one is the constructed simulation that we live in is designed for you to never be satisfied with the flesh, which I think is true. And then we have the second option, which is that you learned what you don't want, actually, which actually is an increase of knowing what you want. And this is why if you're on any type of what I call spiritual excursions, where it's kind of like a side quest, right? You might see certain things that are going on in your existence, and your nervous system, or what I like to call, as the Regal Change Old Timers know, the solar timeline interface. When you're actually embracing your solar timeline interface and calming down yourself, there's a sense of ease that comes with your life, and you start to channel the emotions in a certain way in which, okay, you feel but you're not attached to it. You feel it but you're not attached to it. And I think this is where Goddard's imaginal law can maybe get distorted for some people, is they think that they can just fantasize. They think that they can just fantasize about ignoring reality and everything will be fine. It's like, okay, well, you can't fantasize about ignoring reality and do nothing. I mean, you could. Now, sometimes doing nothing is the most powerful thing because it's an active form of stillness. And stillness is the strongest form of action in the universe. So you could do that. You could do nothing intentionally. But again, what part of the timeline are you in? Are you in the part of the timeline where you can do that, where you've done everything that you can do to ensure that that probability of what you want to have happen and actualize is actually actualize? And now you just need to chill out and just be patient and let the soul of existence do its thing? Or are you just kind of lazy? You know, that's really what you want to be discerning of, not really thinking about, just more discerning of when it comes to this kind of thing. Because if you can ignore reality and just trust that your dream life is going to come true, well, then you're still taking the actions to do so. Like, remember, the output is not going to be as important as the input. The input, now, it doesn't mean to say that the outcome is not important. In fact, the outcome is going to be what matters ultimately, in some sense, more so than intentions, but it's the intentions that shape the theme of the timeline that you're on to get you to where you want to be. So the timeline theory comes into play here practically because, well, let's say that you want to have a conversation with someone, and this conversation is not going to be a pleasant conversation, but you know that if you just navigate through the terrain to do what you need to do here, it's not going to be bad on the other side, right? Like, no matter what happens, there's going to be a risk, but it could be a high risk and high reward scenario, right? Like, if it's a high value, high cost timeline, then maybe talking with this person, you might get a lot of value no matter what, but it also might be a high cost no matter what. So, but again, like, if you want to be embracing that part of yourself and that part of that timeline that you need to be in, like, if you need to act quick, right? If you're like embodying the element of fire, let's say, then you need to like make quick decisions and be rapid, but also be strategic in how you go about it. And, you know, do you want to be a slow burn, or do you want to be like a quick flame to make a quick decision and transform yourself intensely? You know, that's kind of the way that you have to think about it. So maybe I'll just do a whole video on elemental timelines, because that's something that I've been experimenting with in my own Regal timeline theory recently, but I'll think about that a little bit more and how I want to go about it. But the point is that you have to know, like, okay, well, I'm going to go into this conversation. Something could happen that's really good. Something that could happen that's not so good. What do I do here? What do I do here? Well, I'm going to talk to this person, even though it's kind of uncomfortable for me. But I know that on the other side, I'm going to get value no matter what, because I see the value first rather than the cost. I see the value of what I'm going to get to try to achieve this vision, to try to embody this vision. I would rather say embody rather than achieve, because you don't really exist. Like, the Matrix wants you to believe that your mind is real. Now, your mind is real, but it's not real in the way that you think, right? They want you to believe that your thoughts are your attachments and that you are your thoughts. They want you to believe that you are your feelings. But here's the thing. This is, I think, what Neville Goddard is really getting at, is that, how do I say this? By not being attached to certain feelings, and by focusing and investing your attention onto other feelings, while aiming to embody that, you curate your reality. That's what he's saying, and I think that that's true. I don't see how that's false, but I think a lot of people will go about it in a way that doesn't really benefit them, because they're trying to just wish things into existence. They're trying to just fantasize about things. Now look, like, you can fantasize all you want. Like, I fantasized about Selena Gomez all the time when I was a kid. Oh my gosh, she was my celebrity crush, man. And I fantasized about her a lot, but it never did anything for me, because I never took the steps to actually do something about it. Like, maybe I could have gotten with Selena Gomez when she was younger, before she did whatever she did recently with her face. I don't know what happened. Not trying to hate. I'm not hating. I still have a lot of affinity for who Selena Gomez is as a form of energy and a fragrance of light in this world. But yeah, I don't know what happened. I think, man, Hollywood just fucking destroys everybody, man. Hollywood is just so gross. And yeah, that's a whole other thing in a nutshell. But the point here is that you can fantasize, or you can actually try to embody through the fantasy. Okay, well, this is why I'm having this fantasy, and you notice that you're having this fantasy. But I also think that this type of approach to life is for higher level beings and higher altitude level beings, because they they are aware of their own attachments to a larger degree, enough to be able to let go or notice when they are attached, and they can let go from there. Because it's a practice, right? Like, we're not always going to be perfect. And it's a practice to be able to notice what you're noticing and then let go of it. Noticing what you're noticing and then let go of it. And soon enough, you'll just be a vessel of truth in the cosmos. Like, I can't tell you how many times recently I've had people tell me that they knew God was like real, but they didn't know how real God was until they were talking to me about certain things, and I just asked them certain questions. Like, I'm not saying that I'm, how do I say this? Because I'm not trying to attach an identity here to anything, and I'm being very careful about that. Even my identity is no identity. Like, like that's another egoic trap that I've noticed, is like, you can say, oh, I'm nobody. And then you start to think, oh, I'm nobody, I'm nobody, I'm no. Oh, that's who I am. I'm a nobody. I'm a no, well, nobody in the sense that, like, I don't exist, because I don't exist. Thaddeus is simply an expression of the form of the soul of existence speaking to you here right now. That's who, quote unquote, I am. We are all one being. That's the way that I see it. I see that we are all one being. And it's profoundly just hidden in plain sight until it's not. But anyway, so the point is also that you need to be able to let go of yourself enough to be lost in love, right? Be lost in the power of love, not lost in the love of power. And that's where a lot of spiritual people get lost, is in the love of power rather than the power of love. And I think that that's something that we can all be a little bit more mindful of, and just be more kind to one another and recognize the oneness of you and me and you. Just a little bit more, and we'll be all right. You know, we'll be just fine. So with all that being said, I hope that this message was useful and insightful for you. If you want to apply for my Godlike Mastery offer, check out the links in the description box below, or you can check out the Regal Academy. And the Regal Academy right now, the way that I thought about it today, somebody made a post earlier in the Academy, and I thought about this because what this person said was that the Regal Academy has become like an online home that they can kind of come back to. And you know, I really like that. I like that part of it, and I want that for the Academy. And I also want it to be kind of like your uncle's online academy as well, you know, like where there's actual real high value there. Like, it's a high value, low cost timeline. And it's also a high value, high cost timeline for some people. But I would say generally it's a high value, low cost timeline, because you're going to get so much value just from the conversations that you have, from being around people. Like, when you're around people that actually are aware of these things, and you're creating like this what do you call it? It's more than an environment, you know, it's more than that. It's something different, and you're all connected a little bit more. And it also seems like the more that I lose myself in the power of love, the more that I can actually serve people toward the light. And that's what I want to be doing, especially with the Regal Academy. So I'm glad that that's, you know, been an experience for somebody out there. And I'm glad that that's what it's becoming. And I'm still pleased to see that in the Regal retention study that we're doing, people are going strong. I had a few questions recently that might be beneficial for some people that are doing the case study, and I might just send an email about it to everybody as well, just to ensure that there's a proper communication here. But in the Regal retention study, I was asked recently if wet dreams are accounting as a relapse for the case study. That is a negative. No. If you wet dream, it is not a relapse because you're unconscious. So no need to talk about that. Just continue forward, and maybe you can put it in like your notes, in that note section that you have. But otherwise, no, you don't need to address that necessarily. because, yeah, for the sake of this case study, it's not going to be of vital importance. It would be very interesting to do a case study on wet dreams, though, down the line. I'm very curious about that. But until then, with all that being said, I hope everybody stays blessed. Peace. Until next time.